大家好，欢迎收看郑哥哥的频道。那么这赛季美洲比赛还是有很多上届选手，而且北美这边已经组建了职业战队了。那么这次还是很好看，第一届就是直接3-0拿下冠军，这次是3局2胜，直接2-0带走。第一赛季的冠军指挥依然给力。那么我还是那个观点，美洲队伍是国服队伍最大的对手，希望能得到重视。
How many revives are we going for? I think the record from Europe, our top medic was 125, if I remember correctly, Tiff. A crazy number. Let's see what our attack's able to do.
Look, your goal is just to break triple digits if you want to find yourself in some of those individual awards, but kicking things off here on board with G7 from Team Alpha. Now, mind you, we do know on the attacking side for Team Alpha, it's going to be Snarf X from NYXE that is the commander. So keep an eye on them for them to be able to give the comms across all teams and control it all.
Yeah, I'm calling him Snarf. I don't know if it's Snarf or it's something else, but Snarf it is for now, and you can correct me later. But a nice start here for the defense. You can see, again, if you didn't watch earlier, this is our esports observer mode, so everybody that's attacking is going to be in red, and everybody defending is going to be in green. So our attackers already have swung up on the flank, pushed onto the point, getting stifled here by a couple heroes on the left side, but the attack has way more bodies on the point already. Looks like the defense already on their heels.
Ooh, this is going to be tough. And as you see it there, only lost 6 tickets thus far. Mr. Wormy on your screen, this team is the Syndicate. Now, we were talking about how much they've shown through the show matches, but diving in here to the Delta Force Global League and Zinzire, we've seen him go crazy, but gets lost out there. Just those tight angles I was talking about, Ghost. You've really got to be hyper vigilant because you can easily get flanked, and Zio just trying to do some of that themselves.
That's a good shout. But a quick, aggressive motion here is exactly what you want from the attack. Traditionally, when we talk about Victory Unite, we talk about how much value there is in being the defensive side if you're coordinated. But look at this extremely well-coordinated attack. Already swung up onto the point, formed a wall all together. No reason to do anything else besides just stack bodies onto the point, especially if you can push the defense back. You have the advantage in point A, and usually it goes quick. I wasn't expecting it to go this quick, though. A very fast cap, and we are moving on to the B points almost instantaneously, Tiff. I don't know if this is a bad omen for our defense, or if they just said in chat together, hey, we're not worried about A, let's make sure we don't give away B.
Look, it's respectable, right? I was talking about a lot of the things that we'd be witnessing, but this team is going for the hyper aggro stretch. You've got the Stinger, you've got the Nox, you've got all of the goodies here to make sure that you could just lay down that pressure and just keep moving forward. But would you expect anything less when you've got some returning winners from Delta Force Season 1 on that Global League side of things, especially NYXE? You've got For Fun Esports, and they threw down so many kills. I'm talking NYXE was responsible for over 1,000 of those kills. Now, granted, we're playing in a different game mode, less tickets and lives in general, but there's still a lot of kills to be had.
Definitely a lot of kills to be had, and it looks like somebody's already in the bird. We'll see who it is. You're right, Snarf is going to be the commander for the attacking side, and so far so good for the commander. As per the usual, Mr. Wormy has found his way into the helicopter, and as one could imagine, especially when it comes to pubs lobbies, you've probably seen some folks, Mr. Wormy included, tear up those lobbies with this helicopter. For the small bird, though, a well-coordinated strike absolutely could take it out quickly, especially in a coordinated esports effort like this. So we'll see how much value he's able to truly get out of it. Nice flank here from Chicka Chicka Boom on Wormy's team. Get a revive and a kill.
Look, I'm telling you, he's at this point, he's my lord and savior when it comes to the Mr. Wormy in the helicopter. You never know what you're going to get in. Chick, chick, boom. Ooh. 5 HP goes for the repeat, but thankfully, you've got a Stinger on your side there. Sometimes, I'm telling you, it's always good to have a pocket healer. We talk about pocket engineers, but knowing that you have that individual reward for top medics and preserving those tickets when it comes to the attacking side of things. Absolutely blackout, though. That was kind of unfortunate for them.
Patience is a virtue in many games. In Warfare, occasionally it is. And right now, already, the attack not being very patient at all, just swinging on these points as fast as humanly possible. Again, Alpha is our attacking team. Bravo, when we were talking about those team lists on the defense, The attack has taken B1. They are getting stifled now. They're not able to just immediately take B2, and it's mostly because of this tank on the other side for the defense already set up. And it looks like G7's going to try to get Mixie here. Be able to play this flank, trades one, but tank stays interior. This is a huge boon, too. Some of the nuance here, obviously, is that basically to take out this tank, you're either going to have to use Viren magnetic bombs or an AT4. Javelins and other launchers obviously can't go indoors. They drop straight down, so that vehicle pretty safe and getting a lot of value on B2.
Well, our first Luna is going to be Warwick here, and I love that I was talking about how we're going to see a ton of them. Actually, we've seen a real large diversity when it comes to our operator utilization, and Playboy here on the Stinger trying to just kind of hit the knife for the quick rotate, play off the smoke. Now, this is why a lot of that recon is going to be important. You can throw the detection arrow straight into a smoke if you need that information, but right now, just trying to hold on a bit longer for the defense side of things.
The attack's doing a nice job of holding B1 while also pressuring B2. Something we always talk about, and we've got a guided missile here from Luru, one of their abilities. Extremely valuable. So far, again, B1 contested, but still held quite nicely for the attack. On the defensive side, it is a lone survivor here that will end up falling. Cut down as we continue to move on and check out some of these other POVs.
Ooh, okay. I don't know if that vehicle just got exploded. It did. Okay, they drove, they got 5 seconds, and then you see it all go up in flames. G7 on your screen now, but they've already made some adaptations because they came in with triple Tempest, which is wild, and now Demons is the only one that's going to keep locking it back in. I was like, look, if you're going hyper aggro, that's a heck of a way. One of the newest operators, that assault operator, we're talking about just a movement legend when it comes to just being able to roll around. You do have her ult that kind of drags you back and almost gives you that extra life. But sure, people can camp it. It can get a little wild, but it's just going to be Demons going to be the last Tempest alive for that roster.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But B2 about to be captured here for attack. This is the classic tug of war. Again, I'll use this a lot, but the tug of war usually goes one way and then the other, and they go back and forth until one side finally wins. And so far, the attack, yes, they gave a little leeway over on B1, but a nice recap here. It looks like the attack's going to very quickly take B1 and B2. And they are flying through this map already. Still, again, over 100 lives moving into C1, C2 is going to be a huge boon for this team if they're able to continue to hold. And they're just winning their ones right now. Ooh. Really great shots. Finally traded out, but it doesn't matter. We're at nearly max lives going into C1, C2. Was not expecting this from the attack. Very well done.
No, we were just on board with Onion Esports, and sure, they were taking lives before they got ripped apart, but as we move on, get geared up for Sector C, you're going to have all of those points that are going to be difficult, right? We're talking about, like, you can bring in a lot of artillery to hit hard, and it can help destroy and break down the map, but honestly, when you look at NYXE on your screen, they are just guns a-blazing, just full sending straight on towards. You can see the defense is going to be situated over there by C1, looking for some open sightlines. But when you've got the attackers on Team Alpha, just full investing a vehicle on the front line to open the door for NYXE.
And again, this is exactly what you want to see. C1 and C2 are traditionally extremely difficult on this map. You can open things up with some guided missiles and bring down one of these buildings, which is really cool to watch. But what I'm a little worried about is if the defense can't find any footing here, we could be done very quickly. This is exactly what you want to do if you're an attacking team that has a lot of momentum. You've got to keep up the pace. You can never let the defense find footing and reset up, or they could stifle you enough to where they win this, especially with the lower amount of lives in Victory Unite. The attack is guns blazing, flying at these points.
Hey, look, lock it in. D-Wolf here for the aggro plays. Look, sometimes you just need an assault operator. Plus, you do have that tactical smoke that you can use if you need to, but the push comes in, and look at Nori here behind enemy lines and just holding it down. It's allowing the rest of the attacking side to kind of filter through the doorway, and you do have, oh my god, Viren with the movement like that. Just keep it moving. This is what I'm talking about. I have not seen such a hard-hitting squad in a very long time, and you know what, Goj? Team Alpha is looking cohesive.
Yeah, they really are. And they're also just, you know, winning their ones. They're winning their hero plays. You know, we talk about macro all the time in Warfare. If you're able to win a lot of these trades and take out 2, 3, 4, 5 even for Nori right now by yourself, gonna be a crazy amount of value. This is truthfully and frankly not even close to start things off, which I was not expecting from Alpha. Bravo has some extremely heavy hitters as well. Really good team chemistry already pre-built. But it doesn't matter. The attack is flying through this map extremely quickly. C1 already going to their hands. And now the defense can't even hardly get out of their spawn on the backs of the likes of Nori and others who are throwing down some covering fire. Obviously, SMG range isn't going to work that well from that far away, but it at least is harrying them enough to where they feel like they can't get anywhere. C1 and C2 both getting capped at the same time. Jeez.
Yeah, they just keep on moving. And honestly, seeing Nori here, I was curious what that was going to look like, knowing that Sirent was their highest performing player back in Season 1. And when you're swapping that out, you've got to have someone that's going to be absolutely stellar come in, and they are just straight into the mix, looking brilliant. So you've got our commander here. Last alive gets lit up, is able to dive behind. The push comes in, baits him through. Let's keep going. But unfortunately, from behind up the stairs, it's like you just keep that pressure moving forward. Now, Wag gonna take the four-wheeler, grab the homies. Nori's gonna spawn right on the back of him, and they're gonna look for kind of a vantage point that they can go ahead and get into the fray.
A nice push from the attackers again, but I actually quite like taking C2 here and having C1 be the final point you need to capture. And it looks like that was mostly out of necessity because the defense was able to swing out of C1 a lot faster. See where all the defense is set up here on C1, and we got some hero plays again from Nori, who's kind of playing frontman, trying to look for some of these early aggressive fights, especially if you can trade out multiple, could open things up for your team. Little vehicle battle on the outside. We've been waiting on it a little while. We've had a helicopter in the air for a little while, getting a decent bit of value, nothing crazy. Some of these vehicle fights will determine the pace of this. You can already see it's a lot of map destruction on this one, especially with that bridge being blown out. That's going to change up a little bit of some of the rotations you can take to get to safety and get to the other point. Right now, the attack, this is one of their first big pushes, swinging from C2 to C1. As it looks like one of our defensive players is just trying to find any value from the outside.
Yeah, Industrial here. And this is challenging, right? Because as soon as you think you're going to be finding some crazy angles, you keep peeking and you don't check your left, and that's when it's going to cost you. But when you've got the remainder of your team still elsewhere, you turn your attention towards C1, which is utter chaos. NYXE still looking to rack up their score lines. Look at those tickets, though. 114, still quite nice. When you grab one, can you grab two? Look at all the pressure. We're still making that play at the top of this staircase here. And if you've got that self-heal, you just keep on making it work and you dive right back in.
Wait, Snarf might be him. Absolutely.
He is!
Moving different on the map right now. They're losing C2 and retaking C1, so they're trading points yet again, but they're kind of doing it with a smaller group of people, so they should have at least some bodies over on C2 trying to play some defense. Triple Blaster is going to at least give a warning shot over to the IFV. The IFV doesn't really pay too much mind. About half health with the help of others. And it looks like Snarf's pointing it out, saying, get rid of that thing, and we're going to win this game. Looks like a vehicle battle on the outside is very, very close, but the attacker is just one shot away from winning that, and you can see this map. It is all red everywhere as the defense have a final few remaining players on C2, and quickly this map looking a little frustrating. Now, I will say, as much as the attack have been dominating, we've got to remember it is Victory Unite. We only have 100 lives. It's not a crazy amount of time. We've got to capitalize on some of these pushes and start taking both points.
Yeah, it goes incredibly quick, and I fear if Team Alpha here takes the W on the attacking side, Game 2 is going to be really interesting, and you can just see, no matter what the defense was able to carve back on C2 for themselves, it's immediately being recapped there by Team Alpha. You can see we got the commanders calling in that very vital redeploy time. For the next 30 seconds, they will have shortened deployment time back in to keep the pressure on, which is so incredibly important.
Good shout. Right now, both contested. Last-ditch effort here from the defense to get back over to C1, and the vehicle's going to help out with that. I believe that's a tank destroyer inside, a very powerful vehicle. So it's going to help out a ton. Try to open things up and give them a hair of breathing room, but right now I would be holding my breath. We've got an urgent backup deployment just about to end. This allows your players on your team. This is something a commander can call in now. Allow your players on your team to respawn much quicker. Can help for big pushes or help for last-ditch efforts to defend a position. But even still, as much as we've been touting the attack, the defense have been scrapping by somehow, some way. and this building continues to get decimated and lose its walls all over the place. Wag gets traded out there. Can't get actually any help. All of NYXE is down. This is going to be a huge boon for the defense on C1. Down to 75. This game's not over.
I'm not gonna lie, that staircase has been one of the most fickle playgrounds I've seen for when it comes to Sector C. But G7 on your screen for the Team Alpha, still trying to make a play as well on the backs of NYXE. And here comes the chaos. Talk about all the explosions, the pressure from behind being provided by the vehicle. You can just see that heavy hitting artillery just keep on throwing it down the line into the buildings. Will Demons be able to make a play here? You can see some of that utility coming out from Tempest. She's been really fun to witness, but the flank comes in. Can we grab two? We do get it now down the hallway, looking for any remainders. We're looking for a full clean house if we can.
G7 looking really strong. A nice, nice flank there to be able to pick up several. It's going to open things up. Another vehicle battle. These are funny. I mean, this is kind of how Threshold plays. But this battle is comedic. It's just two vehicles on the outskirts of the map shooting each other over and over again, and it does look like the attackers trade, but the tank destroyer comes in to try to play cleanup, is able to do so, may lose it in the process if John over here can get something down on it, but I may not have the right operator to do so. That tank destroyer may be on 1 HP, and somehow, some way, even though it's been utter chaos and decimation, the defense technically have both points partially, at the very least.
Doge, when you said 1v1s and win your ones, were you thinking those isolated 1v1s in vehicles?
No, not even kind of. This is such an odd way to take these fights, but both vehicles know that the way we win this is by having more vehicles on the map than the other person, so they want to chow that and take out the vehicles that they have the priority. It's been nice trades back and forth. Defense is stabilized.
Yeah, and they're goodbye to that vehicle on the inside here. And one of our ESG rosters, you got Matt Perez. They're going to kind of dive on over towards Titan. Titan's going to be the commander for that Team Bravo. So you've got to make sure that you're calming all the goodness from that area. Now, as I look at that Eternals Gaming roster, you do know that one of them did compete in Season 1 under Immortals. And let me just tell you, they did really stellar. I believe they were maybe one of the top performing teams on their initial squad. So maybe they didn't actually win Season 1 and they're coming back for vengeance.
Yeah, I like that shot. And here's probably one of the last big pushes that the attacks could make. Bunnyquid trying to save the day there, and it doesn't look like they're going to be able to. The attack pushing over C1 and C2, trying to hold both. You can see a full squad plus a couple over on C2 and everybody else defending C1. A guided missile coming in, likely for the attack. Let's see where it lands, but all I'm seeing is red on the left, red on the right. Both points potentially captured. Will our attack win? Will this guided missile change anything? And no, it's Zinseer, of course it is, able to pick up a single kill just to add a little insult to injury and a victory. Talk about some of the highlights from this one. There certainly were plenty. And some great moments to start things off. I think one of my favorite moments was just the speed and ferocity that this attacking team put towards A and B. I mean, it was almost immediate captures on A, an immediate capture of B1, a hair of a stalemate on B2, but frankly not all that long. They still capped it with well over 100 lives remaining, moving into C, and like we were just talking about, Tiff, that really did change things. And even on some of these choke points, the defense couldn't get anything going. So we get to C1 and C2, and this is where the defense finally was able to set up enough to be able to play for some of these trades. But I truthfully think the reason the attack wins this is just because they outslayed. I mean, they just outfragged the defense, and they were able to keep more people alive on the map at more times.
I mean, you're not wrong, especially when you've got Nori here and he makes a brief moment in the highlights. But between the NYXE roster and the havoc they were able to bring towards that staircase, and whoop, that's that dynamic propulsion I'm talking about, just jetting through, picking up a kill. And it's just an actual montage here for NYXE.
Yeah, good shout. And here's a couple final moments, of course. Some big moments from Snarf leading the charge, not only as a commander, but also as entryman, fragging out on C1. And of course, we saw these 1v1 vehicle battles that were fun to watch and a little bit interesting. Not what I expected with the way we would use those vehicles, but they knew they had to fight each other. Vehicles absolutely played a big role in this fight, and it was one of the reasons that we were open up the defense here on C1, as you can see in one of these last couple pushes. But a big flank here from G7. G7 looked really strong today. It's pretty impressed with what they were able to do. I think from Brazil, I saw some fans for G7 in the chat as well. And so competing today and really doing great on some of these flanks to open things up. Final pushes, though, 49 lives and counting. And again, I was pretty impressed with what the defense was able to do in the first and only kill there with the guided missile. Game 2 here for the Delta Force Global League Season 2 North American Warfare Finals. About to get into it. And again, Team Alpha now on the defense. Team Bravo, now the attackers. Chat, I want to hear who you think's going to win. Will it be a 2-game series or will it go to Game 3? What do you think? I don't know. After the dominant performance from Team Alpha, I think they might close it out here, Tiff, but I'd be excited to see what we did in Game 3 with the new map and trying to pick those sides.
Look, I always say prove me wrong. So if you're going to hear what Goj is saying, if he thinks Team Alpha's going to run it back, that's where you just have to have Team Bravo prove you wrong. We're getting word on the street that it's going to be Titan from Eternals Gaming that will be locking it in for Commander on Team Bravo, which, you know, I respect. However, when you think about that Eternals Gaming roster on Team Bravo, they originally played under Immortals for Season 1, and they were on that winning team, so they have the experience. The change here, Titan is the new player to that roster, and he is our commander.
There's a look at our attacker spawns. Of course, they spawn on the backside of the gas station for most of them, and then over on the left-hand side as well. And of course, we've got that heli, so we'll see how it all pays out for them as they swing over to the attacking side for the first time. Let's see if it's as dominant as their opponents were able to take, or if it's going to take them a while to get through point A. Because I said this right when we ended the last map, and I think it's a pretty important note. It's not necessarily about if you can take point A and B, it's about how fast you can take point A and B and how many lives you end up using. Because the defense had a great hold on C1 and C2 last time, they just couldn't hold it for long enough because there were so many lives going into that one. So there's a quick look at our attackers trying to pick up some of the forward advanced players who have likely set up some tactical respawn beacons. See if we're able to get those respawn beacons, Tiff, and also get some of these kills.
Yeah, definitely. Look, here we go. Pop on in. 5 HP. Doesn't matter. Still in a 1v2 situation, and Industrial is going to have to bring up the backup. Data Knife gonna go out, and we're still trying to lay low. Get that health to regen. Find some moments of just peace, but not gonna have that when two are saying, no, someone's up there, but you know what else is up there? What the heli? It's a heli. And I'm super excited to see what they're going to bring to the table besides just staring up into the air, putting that pressure onto A. This is where you can see the importance of it, but we're gonna see it from the Team Alpha side of things on the receiving end.
Yeah, it's extremely important you keep your helicopter alive and your tanks alive while also creating some value. So you can see that helicopter playing pretty timid right now because, again, usually A is a decently easy point to cap, and you're going to need that helicopter to help with B1, make B1 extremely easy so that it's really just a fight for B2. That's what we're seeing a lot from the strategies of a lot of these players. The helicopter doesn't really need to get very active at all besides just kind of shell the point wherever they can and really just make sure you don't get taken down by a Javelin or a couple of other rocket launchers. I mean, a well-placed AT-4 would be nice, but a pretty difficult task with the speed of that heli.
Playboy here, getting all the goods down. Look, I'm telling you, those recon operators, imperative when it comes to success here on the Threshold, and Playboy just kind of going through the package, cooldowns on that detection arrow going through, but you do still have that one frag in pocket. It's going out, it's going to be connected, and now we're going to get all that information. We don't care if the engineers are going to try and bash us in with their shields and make a play. We are going to move around it, but check it out. Look who's in that missile, trying to grab the heli if they can. It looks like Nori may have just missed out, but don't worry, we're going to fly around and see if we can get a connection. Not going to happen, but I'm not going to lie. The engineering side of things looks good on you. You pulled off from the Byron. So we saw it. Switch ups are here.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Oliver using their guided missiles to try to weaken this helicopter and hopefully rip it out of the air. Very close on that one. Helicopter well piloted, able to dodge, and so far attackers they've touched A, they've taken a little piece of it, but they aren't able to fully capture it down right now. Defense looking very strong and looking like they own the place still. Threshold may just be Team Alpha's map. Won the attack and now winning the defense thus far.
I mean, look, we're just picking them apart. We're just kind of roaming. That's kind of what we saw from our commander on Team Alpha when it came to it. We were just kind of picking those fights that kind of led us to finding a lot of success in terms of kills, but I mean, not picking anyone up. I think it was like 5 or 6 reses from game number 1, but that's okay because you're gathering information, you're looking for the pushes, and you're coordinating them throughout your other teams on Team Alpha, and that is the most important part. But now we're going to jump on board with the Syndicate, and let me just tell you, Mr. Wormy had 38 kills in game number 1, so a lot of time looking for those kills.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest, the defense is doing a really good job of making sure their vehicles stay alive. I'm pretty sure they were able to cut down the helicopter, by the way, with the use of their vehicles. So now there's got a pretty big advantage on the side of the defense. I will say it looks like the attackers have been able to get a transport vehicle in, and I think they've still got their tank off in the distance, but not getting a ton of value out of them. This is kind of forced the attackers to start playing much more aggressive and at risk of losing some of their vehicles in order to at least capture this point and keep fighting another day. So watch out for that. You'll likely see their tank, if it does decide to push up, immediately be targeted by the defense, and something to pay attention to.
Yeah, something to pay attention to is they're down to 100 tickets. And we're not seeing a budge just yet. But this is where you're going to get that information from your commander to help with that. Looks like they're going to mark a high value objective. So your commanders are allowed to do several things in the Victory Unite mode, whether that is A, shorten the redeployment time for your team, or B, mark a high value object to get extra points for it and kind of try to unite the entire team around that.
Yeah, I gotta say, Hipskate has picked up, I think, like 7 kills in the vehicle they're using, wiped another vehicle from the attacker's side, and is maintaining a power position on the backside. Maybe finally got cut down, I'm not sure, but even still, got a ton of value. And now the defense, this is really reminiscent to what NYXC did last Global League Series in Season 1. This is the exact same thing. NYXC on the defense now for this team. Obviously, Snarf, the commander, they had so much pressure that they eventually were able to push up to these front lines and essentially spawn trap the attackers. The attackers couldn't get any value, and it looks like they've got a bird in the air yet again. I don't know if they're going to get any value out of it, but it's not really will they, it's that they have to, Tiff. They've got to make an aggressive play here or they're going to be stifled. You can see, look at what the attackers are trying to do. They said, okay, we are spawn trapped on the gas station side. Let's swing all the way around the outside as a unit. It's going to be our only play to try to play kind of a flank on the defense and then make a play for the point. But it looks like they're all being eliminated off to the right-hand side.
Hey, definitely are, but honestly, if you're for fun esports, you're reeling in this. Winning all alone in Delta Force Global League Season 1 alongside NYXC, kind of running it back, right? So you're looking for be the 2-time at this point in time, especially when $10,000 on the line, and G7 looking to join them if they can. And now you've got Johns is hot, just kind of making sure that we are breaking it down to 50 tickets almost. Just hanging in there. This is crazy. They're going to have to get A as soon as possible. I don't know what that player's trying to do from the top ropes because Mr. Wormy's like, nah, bro, I'm the one that has the height advantage usually.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And a couple of heroes trying to make hero plays. The problem is there's just too many numbers. There's just too many defenders in the area. And this is brutal. Himskate is really crushing it in the vehicle. You're seeing a ton of kills coming their way. The defense is repositioned on the backside of A. Bodies on point. And the helicopter's trying to help. Look at it swirl through the sky, but it's just not getting a ton of value right now. Having to evade likely javelins and Alluru guided missiles. Maybe even some AT-4 shots. They need a miracle right now. If I'm the attacker, I need to call in something. I don't know if we have enough score to do it yet. But we've got to break through this front line of the defense. Right now, they are an iron wall.
Ooh, and even with the health going so low, we hold it together. That therapeutic pistol goes crazy before being ripped to shreds the moment you enter that small building. Look, this is wild, Goj. We're down to 15. What do you do if you're looking for a last hold for the defense? Because Team Alpha right now is just too strong.
Yeah, what you do is you get risky with your vehicles. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're able to get a vehicle onto the point, open things up for a moment, but then it was a risk of losing the vehicle. The problem is you've got to take the risk. You just got to get onto the point, and it doesn't look like the attackers have enough bodies, enough position to do it. They cannot make a move through this defensive curtain. This is unbelievable. Push from the defense, a great hold, a great trap. And I think we're going to end it right here on the very first point. Team Alpha is just the superior team, and there's a late push a late effort with 1 life remaining for the attackers team. We do go to overtime. The attackers are trying. This would be a unbelievable story that we would talk about for a very long time if they're able to win this map. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but they have enough bodies here.
What?
It's really close. They get
What?
Oh my goodness. In overtime is just about getting bodies on the point, and they were able to do it. Good grief. We've got 60 lives going to B1 and B2. Is that going to be enough? I don't know, but the show goes on.
I mean, look, that was straight whack-a-mole trying to pull him off of A, and there was just nothing they could do. I was just watching it. It hits 50%. It keeps chugging. Next thing you know, they capture it, and I'm like, how is this even possible? How is Team Bravo making this work? I respect it. The fact of the matter is they did. Now we set our sights over to B1 and B2 with 60 lives. It's going to be incredibly difficult, but you know what? Life is hard. I've seen harder things, so I want to see them break it down.
What a great rallying cry for this team. Life is hard, but I've seen harder things. Let's push on forward. Anybody can do hard things if you set your mind to it. Let's see if our attackers have the right mindset for this, or if they're just reeling and just trying to breathe after a narrow almost loss in this entire tournament. Folks, I gotta remind you, as we only have 55 lives remaining for B1 and B2, for us to continue this competition at all as Neo gets taken down, the attackers have to win this map to force game 3. This is a single best of 3 for the finals. If the defense holds here, the defense wins the entire tournament. And it looks like the attackers just barely catching the edge of B1, at least making sure that this isn't a clean sweep on B1, B2.
I was going to say, that was a good hold for the initial. They took away 21 of those lives, which, if that's what they're going to get per push, you don't really have too many more efforts at it. So maybe you unite along the vehicle, bait out the defense's vehicle, because you can see them there in hot pursuit, that 1v1. It's going to be important, and look at that. It is going to be the attacking side with the victory when it comes to the 1v1 vehicles.
Hey, you got to take the little wins where you can get them. I mean, hey, if you win the vehicle battle, you're at least going to have some firepower. The problem is you're running out of daylight already. Of course, you only had 60 lives going into B1, B2, a very tall task. Got to start with B1. Obviously, this is a much more kind of linear point almost, so you need to find some footing past this choke point if you want any success to be able to try to take B2. Getting kind of choked out here with this tent choke point, and they've got to push through, take B1, get some respawn beacons down so their team can spawn a lot closer so they can try to make a play for B2. Got a decent bit of footing on B1, but I don't think they've got enough bodies to actually capture that point.
All right, let's go back to the free cam. Let's get an overlook of what we are witnessing in the setups here. Implosions, explosions, all of the above. Just that sheer chaos that you mentioned at the top of the show here for B1 and making things more difficult.
I don't know if they're going to get overtime on this one, Tiff. I'm going to be honest. It does look like the attackers have been able to swing around the left side, and maybe they're going to go for B2 instead of B1, which is not a terrible idea, especially with the artillery strike on B1. But I like the strategy. At least they're fighting for it, and right now, it's still possible.
Okay, Mr. Wormy, I see where you were getting those kills from in game number 1. You making plays like this. Let's keep on moving throughout. You break the corner. He's already gone. Now you set your sights on. This is going to be a big moment here. Just a couple players. You're just sheer outnumbered. Kind of unfortunate, but you know what? 6 lives. Are they the overtime warlords? Is this their key to success? Do they thrive under that amount of pressure? So they want to keep it for themselves? I don't know, but G7 is 4 lives away from being a winner here in Season 2.
Yeah, they've found their way all the way to B2 and captured a point, but with only 2 lives remaining, yes, we've got the urgent backup deployment active. It's going to be ending here at the end of the game because that is it, folks. As much as they've put up a fight, Team Bravo taking down Team Alpha, your champions. They win map 1 on the attack. They dominate all the way through. We thought they were going to hold on the very first point of the second map, but then they're able to hold on the second. 20v20, victory unite, but it all came down to a couple key heroes and great team chemistry from Team Alpha. Crushed it. Not even close, just utter domination, front to back, attack and defense.
That is wild. Just wild.
B2, and even then C. So let's take a look back on that map and see how it all went down and what really happened. What was the frustrating points for the attackers on this point A? And I think very quickly we realized, one, we weren't getting a ton of value out of our vehicles from the attacker side, Tiff. We didn't see vehicles make big plays. They were just trying to kind of stay alive to use them for B2 or B1 and B2 potentially, or they were just getting out-fragged and out-taken down. And I think that's a stratagem problem from the defensive side. They were likely targeting these vehicles first because they know how powerful they are. And then moments like this, obviously, where you've got to just full send it. You said, okay, I've been playing slow with my vehicle. We have 13 lives remaining. I got to get on the point. They do force overtime, and this is where, you know, obviously we were holding our breaths thinking this couldn't surely be over on the first point, right? And they were able to capture in overtime and force it to B1 and B2. But this choke point here was just too hot to handle. They couldn't get through it. They had to flank for B2, and they just didn't have enough time for that much route running and that much work on the backside of this point, Tiff.
Yeah, you see those anti-tank mines there and all of them inside. Look, it was just wild when it came to what we witnessed there for game number 2. Very reminiscent of game 1 from the Europe warfare side of things that just happened a few hours ago. But I really didn't think we would see that again. Now, granted, they did at least get through A, so I'm really happy about that. Maybe they just needed to feel the pressure, the stakes of that overtime. Whatever works. Whatever works.
Yeah, hey, whatever works as well. I agree. I think, hey, you got to show up some fight. You got to show out for the team. And hey, there's still some individual rewards to play for. We do know, of course, the winning side. They dominated Team Alpha today. But we do have some individuals that really shined. And I'll be really curious to see who the top Slayer is, who the top medic is, the person with the most revives. Those are up for grabs from either team. So there's definitely a possibility that one of those players could be on the losing side. You never know. I think I've got a good idea of a couple of the people that were in the running, but I'll be really excited to see if we're able to potentially see who those are and then also take a look at those final scores. I think those scores are just about ready. We're going to wait on that. And then get into the mix. But folks, thanks for tuning in so far. What a very quick but very fun warfare bout. And Tiff, I want to kind of reminisce a little bit on Threshold because I knew it was going to play very different from Trainwreck, but it was totally different. And I think that was one of the things that you and I were just talking about after the first game, is that even operator choices were different. The way we played was different. The way we played around vehicles was different, and the terrain can dictate that often. And that's what I love about Warfare, is that every map has a different strategy, whether you're on attack and defense, a huge different strategy. There's a lot of fun kind of esports level strategies that can start at a micro level, but then transfer over to a macro level for an entire team of 20.
Yeah, I mean, you just saw so much utilization and it was fun, right? From the engineers that have the anti-tank mines and all of the guided missiles that are helping you kind of combat, but also yet keep those vehicles alive. So a little bit of both. But then when you think about what other operators we were seeing that were just much more prevalent, yeah, you've got the return to the classic, the OG, the D-Wolf, but then you have a ton of the Virons. And a lot of that is based on the momentum that we're witnessing and the movement that they need to be successful on the aggro nature, especially for Team Alpha, because they just excel in just that fast-paced, high-octane gameplay, which is cool because we also saw one of their players kind of logging back into Nox. And sure, Nox has definitely gotten some of the reworks in the most recent season patch, but still incredibly fun to witness when it comes to competitive gameplay. Now, we did see some of the Tempest Gauche. I was excited. Yeah. I don't think they got the main stage that we needed to see from that, because with the tactical combat role, this is still kind of leaning more into that movement, because you also do have that 10% speed boost that you can get from her like passive. So I do love kind of locking it in, and Demons was able to stick with the Tempest when everyone else was kind of adapting and moving away from them, when we needed to see kind of the different package that made sense for those sectors, Coach.
Yeah, a really good breakdown. I think our scores are just about to be ready. Again, folks, we know the championship team, but the question is, how about our individuals? Let's take a look at the last game first before we take a look at the overall. And folks, this game was a doozy. Obviously, not a very long one, so not crazy stat lines across the board, but I gotta say, look who's nearly at the top of the revive category yet again for Team Alpha. Zinseer at the top of the overall leaderboard, at the top for revives, 28. Technically, though, John Zinhot over there on G7 did pick up 29, was the most in this map. And an honorable mention there, of course, to 4F John there, down a little bit lower. But then on our losing side, decent score lines across the board. Our top fragger looks like it's going to be blocking over with ESG. 18 kills overall. Not bad, especially for a map that was pretty frustrating. I mean, my eyes go to Snarf, though, here, Tiff. Commander, a fantastic player, but also top fragger, I believe, at 32 kills. I mean, I think we're seeing some of the individuals that have risen to the top of our categories.
I mean, absolutely not. But I was just going to say, oh, captain, my captain at this point, because let me just tell you, he was out there making those solo plays. I don't care if he doesn't have any revives. Locked into the D-Wolf, kept that aggression moving forward, and was able to command a team to an extensive victory. So overall, I thought it was really impressive, and I would love to see it again.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the overall. This is between both games, and again, when you go 2-0, you better have higher score and a lot more kills, and that's exactly what we're seeing on our leaderboard here. We've got over 500,000 in our score totals between both games combined for all of our players, which is well over 100K lead over their opponents. Obviously, they go back-to-back in our best of 3 and win it all, but they also, just in the kill category, we're slaying out. And at the end of the day, as much as we want to break down macro and all that good stuff, if you just outslay your opponents, you're probably going to win, and that's exactly what happened with over 250 kills more. That's absurd. Now let's take a look at our prizing. Who's won some cash? We know Team Alpha won $10,000, but oh my goodness, in 2 fairly quick games, TTV Zinsir, I see you. 88 rescues. Congratulations, top medic of the day. $500 going to your name. And then Snarf picked up top slayer with 66 kills between 2, again, fairly short games. Both really impressive stat lines. And a big congratulations to both those teams for winning $500 apiece, Tiff, but also an extra $500 for being a part of Team Alpha. That's a $1,000 payday. Let's go.
Yeah, look, it had to be incredibly close, especially when you're looking at 66 kills from Snarf. Had 34 after game number 1, but you know what? Not the top fragger. It was actually Mr. Wormy with 38. So knowing that it was already really dicey coming into game 2, you just had to lay it down and focus up. And maybe that's exactly what he was prioritizing alongside leading the team, making sure that you got those frags. But regardless, a 32 kill game for game number 2, super consistent.
Yeah, really good stuff. And just a quick behind the scenes, by the way, it was really close from the top Slayer category, like you mentioned. Snarf did pick up 66, as we're showing. Mr. Wormy only got outfragged by 3 kills, had 63 total kills, and Snarf had 66. Just barely outfragged. So congratulations to both those players. Really a great day. And then G7's Leo TZZ at 55 there for 3rd in that category. And then on the top medic side, it was Zinsire at the top by a mile. Zinsire. I think we might get a chance to figure out how to say his name perfectly and shout him out here in a little bit. At 88, but John Zinhot for G7 was at 57, which is, again, still a great value there from the revised category, but an unbelievable amount of value here from Zen to pick up 88 and 2.